I am Captain Logan, and this is day 224 of Spawn Year. Perhaps the strangest feeling in the world is being completely at the mercy of a 3-foot-tall Adam West. Apart from the mask, I don't even understand why he's called that. Where's the witty alliteration, the labeled gadgets, the deep, quippy, deliberately enunciated dialogue? Adam West Batman was always cleverly foiling villains' bizarre, elaborate death traps just in the nick of time. But in a demented twist of fate, I continually find myself in the compromising position with the minuscule perversion of Adam West's visage holding all the keys and inventing new insidious ways of humiliating me while he ultimately facilitates my transformation into something grotesque and unnatural. I only regret that DVD box sets of Batman weren't released before my coma, or that show would have been in my collection when I found that recreation of my game room now months ago, and I would have enjoyed it thoroughly. What a treat it would be to return to my life and find that those discs were finally published in my absence. But I digress. Tiny Adam West could demand I do absolutely anything, and I would have no choice but to sing for my supper. I would count to 15 million, listen to Believe by Cher for 15 straight hours, or even sit all the way through EGA before having to live through even 5 minutes more of caffeine withdrawal. Today's task sounded simple enough. It was a pop quiz. Read Spawn number 114, write my critique, and then answer 5 questions about what I read. Conjunctions, now a reading comprehension exam. Who is this guy, the English professor from hell? For every correct answer, I get a whole can of Mountain Dew. I couldn't believe it, a chance at a substantial reward for this challenge. If I answer all 5 correct, that's a full 5 weeks I could go without having to submit to the will of a cosplaying, trash can dwelling shapeshifter. However, in the event that I miss all 5, intense, agonizing hunger pains until he shows his cape and pointy ears again. Naturally. So it's time to write about today's comic, and I'll pay extra special attention as I look back over this one in hopes of earning the grand prize. Big money, no whammies. This issue has a refreshingly thoughtful and contemplative tone for a Spawn comic, and it does a lot of things in setting up this new story arc I usually find clunky and intrusive, but here I found intriguing. Where was this layered and engaging writing last story? It's as if the Brian Hogwin who wrote the Billy Kincaid plot I loved so much checked out for a year and a half and he's only just come back to work now. This story centers around another new character, a Japanese-American named Ben Nakadai, and Spawn doesn't appear until the final page. But unlike so many stories that hide Spawn in the shadows, this one focuses on a guy who is instantly relatable. We live with him for a while this issue, and he seems like a fully formed person. He's neither a violent criminal nor a victim, and Hogwin finds interesting ways to parallel his history with Spawn's. And, at least so far, no flashbacks to an abusive childhood. That's a plus. Ben works for an architecture firm in America working on a development project in Japan, and although he spent his whole life in America and his parents worked hard to completely assimilate into the culture and spoke no Japanese at home while he was a child, the firm sends Ben as an ambassador to see what can be preserved of an ancient temple on the site his firm wants to build on. Ben is apprehensive and hates being seen as the token Asian, and I feel for him as he struggles with being a stranger in the land of his ancestors. He's avoided his heritage his whole life, and all at once, he has no choice but to meet it head on. Ben has a recurring dream with some powerful, provocative imagery that echoes his situation. A huge bridge with pictographs of a dragon, an ancient mask, and other symbols sitting between 2 worlds. A narration box calls it a chasm between what is true and what is believed to be true. Paradise on the left, chaos on the right, reflected also in the solar systems of each plane above the 2 worlds. And there are people holding lanterns, all walking from the hellish world to the heavenly one. There is a lot of symbolism going on in this splash page, even more when the devil himself comes to Ben in a restaurant in the guise of a Japanese man but still sporting a goatee and that unmistakable 3-slash gash across his left eye. I like that he appears so early in the comic, giving the story a sense of credibility. This may be entirely significant to Spawn's story, even though I don't know why yet I'm reading about Ben for those first few pages. The devil tells Ben a story about one of his ancestors, which Ben never knew about. A samurai who earned rule over his own fiefdom for his bravery in battle. The samurai loses his family to disease and shuts down, becomes no good to anyone. Then a wise old sage gives him the advice to meet his grief head on, saying he must find and slay his dragon. The samurai becomes a ronin, traveling the world in search of his dragon. He beheads it and is ready to return home, but someone has laid waste to his kingdom. And just before the devil has a chance to reveal who has done this, Ben gets a phone call from work and has to go. The devil offers up the advice, don't forget to look your dragons in the eye. At the very end, we see Spawn standing outside Ben's hotel, implying that Spawn may prove to be Ben's dragon. The only real complaint I have is that Ben isn't more curious to hear the end of the story. It would have taken all of 5 seconds to hear the identity of the villain, but Ben just rushes off. I get the point of this. He runs from his destiny like the samurai did, but that only works on a symbolic level. Realistically, Ben seemed very intent and attentive, and of course, he doesn't know who he's talking to, so he doesn't leave quickly out of intimidation or fear. More than that, the devil's story includes 2 integral elements in the vivid, memorable dream he just had, a bridge and a dragon. The bridge in the story leads to the dragon. In the dream, the dragon is depicted on the bridge. He even makes that connection at the end when he writes, "Look the dragon in the eye," on the same piece of paper he drew the dream imagery. So it's odd he didn't wonder enough about that coincidence to hear the rest of the story. It comes off like a plot device to add extra mystery to the situation. But otherwise, the setup is fantastic. I don't want to read too much into any of these symbols or images until I have more of the story, but I'm intrigued and enticed to make a lot of guesses. Ben is the bridge between 2 cultures. Perhaps that makes Spawn the bridge between heaven and hell. They're both men who have avoided their heritages and destinies. The ending makes Spawn out to be the dragon for Ben, but I wonder if they aren't kindred spirits with converging destinies. In the devil's story, the samurai is visually depicted as a hellspawn. Is that meant to mirror his history with our spawns, or perhaps there are 2 paralleling stories secretly being told at once? How is it a bridge from what is to what is perceived if it's linked between heaven and hell, 2 entities we know are real? Perhaps by bringing them together, both can come to terms with the reality that neither can exist without the other. So is this a story about potential peace between good and evil? For once, I'm not frustrated by all these questions. I'm enjoying all the thinking this issue has me doing, and I only hope Holguin hasn't set himself up for failure with a brilliant opening he doesn't know how to close effectively. This is easily the best Spawn comic I've read since the Kincaid arc. But my most burning question is why everything in this hotel has Pac-Man on it, and how Ben sees it everywhere and never comments on that. Well, I've studied the issue thoroughly, and now, dear reader, wish me luck. Wait, what? This isn't an open book quiz. Okay, here goes. Number 1. What city is Ben Nakadai from? San Francisco, just like Starfleet headquarters. Number 2. The symbol in the hotel bar looks most like A, the sun, B, Pac-Man, C, a dragon, or D, Pop-Tarts. Nice. Referencing my bizarre dreams. Pac-Man. 2 for 2. Number 3. What had the old groundskeeper been many years ago? Well, he was also a samurai, I think. Right? Yes! Like Cog, he used to be a spawn. Huh. I just made that connection. Number 4. Why was the dragon laughing at Lord Nakadai as they fell? Because he looks a lot like Bulgy? Oh, because he didn't look him in the eye. The whole point of the... Yes, brilliant, Cap. Alright, number 5. Who was the brazen pretender sitting on Lord Nakadai's throne? A, the dragon, B, his son, C, the old man, or D, we don't know yet. Is it D? Yes! And now I look my dragon in the eye and accept my reward. Today has turned out to be the best day of Spawn Year. Signed, Captain Logan. Oh, Captain Logan, what in the hell are you still doing here?